Good afternoon, everyone. Mark Mendelson here, speaking from freezing Montreal, Chief Executive Officer of the Canadian Associates of Ben-Gurion University, which is soon to be known as Ben-Gurion University Canada. After quite a few months of discussion involving our Canadian lay leadership, professional staff, and our colleagues in Israel and the States, we have all decided to re-energize our name and our logo. Look out for it in our coming correspondence. Please join us for a special celebration on Wednesday, March 9th, as we welcome Bedouin Professor Sarab Abu Rabia Keder, Ben-Gurion University's Vice President for Diversity and Inclusion, and Associate Professor in the Department of Education, to celebrate Women's Day. And just a quick update on our other programs. We have partnered with the Israel Medical Association in Canada for an evening webinar on April 7th, featuring two brilliant Israeli fellows who are now doing postdoc work in Toronto. One is a Druze doctor from the Galilee, and one made Aliyah as part of the huge Ethiopian Aliyah made to Israel 15 years ago. And a reminder that we are returning to in-person gatherings across our regions here in Canada. Sponsorships are still available for the Ben-Gurion Gala Dinner for Sustainability and Climate Change, to be held June 9th in Vancouver. The event will honor Royal Bank of Canada Regional President and homme extraordinaire, a wonderful man, Martin Thibodeau, great friend of Israel, of Ben-Gurion, and of the community in Vancouver, and will feature BGU President Professor Daniel Shamovitz, who will be there in person. On June 14th, Winnipeg will be hosting an evening to commemorate the 1972 Olympic Games terrorist attack that killed 9 Israeli athletes. The evening will feature the film After Munich and a live interview with the film's Canadian producer and director, Francine Zuckerman. Montreal will also host its annual main event on June 14th, and it will be a sold-out event, I am sure, featuring brilliant Chazan cantor Gideon Zellermeyer and BGU's president, Professor Danny Shamovitz. Sponsorships are available for the event, and tickets will soon be available as well. Finally, in Toronto, there is something very exciting brewing. A big announcement will be made very soon about a Hollywood personality about whom everyone knows. It's a very exciting evening, and stay tuned for the event of the year. Keep an eye out. It'll be in November. Details to come. Today, we are featuring the fourth in our Webinar Wednesday series, 2.0. We had 24 webinars before the new year, and this is our third in 2022, on a topic that hit the airwaves around the world, like a tsunami, no pun intended, featuring goldfish from Ben-Gurion University learning to drive, not these goldfish, but real ones. It was such a fascinating topic that every major news outlet in the world featured our own Golda the Goldfish. I'm again thrilled to tell you that we have just under 150 people registered for the program today. People are dying to see how we can make goldfish drive better than the average Israeli driver. It is also a great opportunity to thank my outstanding staff from coast to coast who comprise the finest team in Canada. They each have worked tirelessly to fundraise and friend-raise, and together, along with our lay leaders, we have achieved record results for the fourth year in succession, and we are well on the way to record results for our coming fifth year. Today's webinar will be returning to our regular format. Unfortunately, at the last moment, Professor Ohad Ben-Shachar couldn't make the webinar, and we will be featuring Professor Ronen Segev, along with one of their top PhD students, who's a researcher in his lab, Shachar Givon. Galit Solomon, our Director of Communications and Marketing, will handle the Q&A, and I will then wrap it up. I'm certain that everyone present on today's call saw the reporting of the driving goldfish on either CNN, NBC, CBS, ABC, Steve Colbert, all the evening shows, CTV. BGU and Professor Segev really achieved world stardom, as did the goldfish. Ronen Segev is a professor of life sciences at Ben-Gurion University. He received his bachelor's, master's, and PhD in physics from Tel Aviv University. We can't be perfect. But we forgive him because since from 2002 to 2006, he was a postdoc at the Molecular Biology Department of Princeton, which is some heseg, some achievement. And since 2006, he has chosen Ben-Gurion University, at which he is a faculty member and former head of the School of Brain Sciences. Shacha Givon served 3 years in the IDF as a simulator instructor, BSc in physics from BGU, MSc in life sciences at BGU, a certified scientific diver, AUSS approved, and of course, currently a PhD brilliant candidate at BGU. Each will be speaking for between 10 and 15 minutes, during which time I will give them a 2-minute warning, and then we will continue with questioning. Ronen, Professor Segev, the computer is all yours.
Thank you, Mark. It's great to be here. What I would like to talk about today is actually studies that we have been doing here at the lab at Ben-Gurion University for several years. And what actually we are focused on is the neurobiology of fishes. So I have a long standing interest in how fish use their brain in order to survive in the environment. If you think about it, then one of the most important thing about the neurobiology of fishes is the fact that fish and mammals diverged away in the course of evolution something like 450 million years ago. And ever since, fish and mammals evolved in a parallel manner, each its own environment. Now, we used to think about fish as primitive creatures, and these primitive creatures do primitive things. And this is actually something which is not correct. What we need to think about is the fact that mammals and fishes have evolved in parallel. Fish evolved in order to solve their own challenges in their own environment, which is very different from our environment. Our environment is terrestrial. We can actually walk on the land, and this actually limits the fact that how we move and how we explore our environment. Fish, on the contrary, can swim up and down in their environment. They don't see too far away because of the limited visibility in the aquatic system, and they live in much more complex, in a sense, environment than we do, because they need to go up and down in the water column and avoid predators like us. But predators and the type of challenges they have, it's quite different from the ones that you get when you move along terrestrial environment. So this actually fascinates me for quite some time. And initially, our lab was studying the visual system of fish. And we started our interest in studying the archerfish, which has its own own fame, in the sense that archerfish is a fish that can actually shoot insect that sits above water level, and by spitting a jet of water from the fish at the insect above the water, then the fish can bring the insect to the water level, and by bringing the insect to the water level, the fish can feed it. Now, the cool thing about the archerfish is the fact that we can train an archerfish to shoot, instead of insect above water level, to shoot at targets that are presented on a computer monitor. So making this fish an excellent, if you want, excellent laboratory to study how vision works in the fish kingdom. So with this long interest in the study of fish, in recent years, we actually explore a different territory, which is how fish navigate in the world. Navigation is an extremely important task. When we explore the environment, we need to know where is the supermarket and where is our home. And in order to survive, we need actually to use the knowledge about the environment in order to navigate from different areas of interest. In order to do so, the task of navigation is to use the cues that are present in the environment in order to find my way to the location of desire. Now, if we think about it, this task is important for us, but it's also important for fish. And I assume that in Canada, you all heard about the famous ability of the salmon that go out of the river where they spawn into the ocean, and after several years, they actually navigate back to their home river in order to give birth for the next generation. So navigation is an important aspect of the brain because it incorporates two critical things that are very interesting for us as brain scientists. Is the fact that in order to navigate, you need to learn the environment, and in order to navigate, you need to put this information, to place this information in the brain in the form of a memory, and later on actually take out this information and use it in order to navigate in an environment. So in recent years, we started to study how fish navigate in the world, both from the motivated by the basic interest in how fish navigate. Fish are very important animals because they inflate many aquatic environments, and there are actually something like 35,000 different fish species in the world, and so they are important for understanding our understanding of the marine environment, but also from the fact that fish are important. If we want to manage properly these marine environments, we need to understand their basic biology. So this comes actually, this interest in how fish navigate in the environment brought us to study the navigation in goldfish. And goldfish are really amazing animals. Besides being very nice and colorful, they are very robust. And the cool thing about goldfish is that you can actually get them any size that you want. You can get a goldfish this size and goldfish this size, and basically it's the same animal. So you can actually adjust the animal size to the type of experiments that you had in mind. And this is actually what we were doing for quite some time. We challenged goldfish to navigate in something in a small water tank that we had in the lab, which is something like 1.5 by 1.5 meters in size. So doing this for quite some time, it was kind of a frustration. And the reason that it was a frustration is the fact that animals, when they navigate in the world, they don't navigate in a 1.5 by 1.5 meter size of environment. They navigate in large environments. Usually they are open, they are not enclosed by walls, and they need to actually engage with many objects in the environment while they navigate. And we were looking for a way that we can actually expand the environment for the goldfish in order to make the navigation much more natural in size and natural in the complexity. Now, of course, what we can do is try to find a large fish pond and do experiments with a larger fish pond, and this was one idea. Another idea that we had is actually to endow the goldfish with the capability to navigate on land. By doing so, we can imagine taking the goldfish and let it navigate across campus. The campus is quite big and it's quite complex because it has many objects. So by endowing the fish the capability to explore terrestrial environment, we had this idea of making the navigation of the goldfish much more naturalistic and much more natural, if you like, by doing so. Okay, so this was the idea, and the idea of letting animals the ability to drive vehicles is not new. It was done in the past with rats. It was done even with dogs, and there was even an attempt to do it with goldfish. And so we decided to see whether we can first build a vehicle that the fish can control, and then later on we wanted to see whether the fish can actually get handle of this vehicle. Okay, so in order to proceed, I would like actually to share with you what we have built, and let me just open short video. 1 minute, I need my eyeglasses. Yeah, I hope that you see my video, my screen. Do you see my screen, Mark?
We do see it. Yes. Thank
Okay,
you.
perfect.
Yes,
Okay,
we
so
see it.
perfect. So what we see here is actually the vehicle that Matan Samina, the second lead student on the project, built. And
Professor Segev, I'm just going to interrupt you for a moment. Right now, we're just looking at a number of files, so we can't really see the actual video. Yeah.
Stop share. Let's do it. So number of files, it's not very amusing, right? Yeah. Okay, you don't see the video. Now do you see the video?
Yeah, we do.
Perfect. Okay, so I stopped the video so we can actually, I can explain what we see here. I hope that you see my cursor. Do you see my cursor?
Can you move it just so?
Yeah,
we
I
can.
see it.
Yeah.
A white dot.
Actually, I can do something like that. Yeah, okay. So this is a goldfish. Okay, we have the goldfish here. The goldfish is sitting in a water tank that we see here. And the vehicle is endowed with 4 wheels. And these wheels are connected to motors that are controlled by a computer and a camera that sits on top. Now, what the computer is doing is basically it's taking picture of the fish, and as soon as the fish is facing the wall of the water tank, the computer gives actually close the loop and give a command to the wheels to go in this direction. So basically, in this way, the goldfish can control the motion of the vehicle by placing its body in a particular region in the water tank. So if the fish wants to go in one direction, then the fish body will face the wall in this direction, and then the vehicle will go in this direction. If the fish wants to go in this direction, then the fish body will face the wall in this direction, and the entire vehicle go in this direction. And in this, doing so, what we can actually get, we can get the system where the fish actually driving the vehicle. Okay, so the cool thing is that we can do it indoor, and we can also do it outdoor. The fish can actually use this sophisticated this sophisticated vehicle in order to move in the environment. Okay, let's see it again. The fish is facing the wall and driving the vehicle in one direction. And then if we can actually take it out, and the fish is facing the wall and taking the vehicle in the other direction. Okay, so in this way, we endow the fish with the capability of actually exploring terrestrial environment. This was the first step, and a nice, an interesting story that actually goes around it is the fact that Matan Samina, who built the robot, actually started to build a robot with the first lockdown that we had due to COVID-19. He was sitting at home. We were buying robot parts across over the internet and get it in mail, and we started to put it together. And after a few months and 3 more lockdowns, we had the prototype of the vehicle ready to go. Now the trick was actually, so once the hardware was put together, now the challenge was actually to teach the fish in order to drive the vehicle.
רונן, 2 דקות.
2 דקות. Okay, thank you. 2 minutes. And this is actually where Shahar actually went into the picture and actually took control over the project. And I think that this is a good time to let Shahar Givon to explain how she took a vehicle and the fish and taught the fish to drive the vehicle.
You're going,
Okay,
Shahar.
hi everyone, it's great to be here. So thank you, Ronen. Yes, so when I came to this project, we have the robot, basically the vehicle ready, and we want to teach a fish how to drive it and how to navigate in the terrestrial space around it. So what we decided to do is build a very simple sort of experimental setup where we put the fish in the vehicle in the middle of a room, and we give it a very simple task. You need to reach a certain point. And to reach that certain point, it had to learn 2 very new things, right, that it didn't know before. One was it needed to learn how to operate this strange thing that it found itself in, how to operate the vehicle. And the other is it needed to learn what it was that we're asking of it, because me saying I want it to go to a certain place, it doesn't know it yet. So here we go into reinforcement learning. Basically, it starts out the first day, it knows nothing, but it suddenly sees that when it moves around the water tank, also the whole water tank moves as well inside the environment. And in the beginning, you see the movement, it's very shaky. It doesn't very much have any purpose, but as time goes on, it becomes a lot smoother. Something that happens right along with it is that at some point, the fish, by total accident, will reach where we want it to reach. Okay, it will get to that magic point that we want it to. And what happens then is that I give it an amazing reinforcement, the type that works not only on fish and animals, but also on humans. I give it a little piece of food that it really likes. So great, it got a piece of food. The next time it reaches that spot, also by accident, again, it receives food. By the 3rd time or by the next day, it kind of starts to realize what's going on, to connect the dots. It gets better at controlling how the vehicle moves, because it realizes if I look in that direction, I'm going to move in that direction. And it realizes where it's a good place to be. If I go next to that wall, next to the big pink target, in our case, I'm going to get some food. And we see the fish really improving on it. And every fish had about 10 to 15 sessions. And you can see that by the end, they have really improved. They go over to the target time after time after time, right? They want that food. They're a hungry little fish, which was amazing to see. So I think what I'm going to do now, I'm going to share with you a little bird eye view of some of these experiments, and I'll try to walk us through it as we see it. So I'm going to share my screen. Wait, I'm going to share my screen. Is that okay? Yeah. Sure. Okay. So I hope that you can see my screen. We're going to see the room now from a bird eye view. You'll see to the left, there's going to be a very big prominent pink target. And whenever the fish reaches it, it gets a little piece of food. At the top right, you're going to see what the camera that is situated on the vehicle sees and how it finds the fish inside the visual. And let's see the fish reaching the target. So as you see, right when we let it start, it just swims directly to the pink target in order to get the food. Okay, more things that we did is not only have the fish start in the middle of the room all the time, we also wanted to test whether it can start from different areas of the room. And we tested more things later on, but even when it starts here at the top right corner, it still is very proficient in reaching the pink target, which does tell us a lot. It means that the fish didn't just learn a certain set of movement. It knows that it wants to reach the pink target, and it is able to do it. Good. Now, one more thing that we really enjoyed seeing that the fish do is get themselves out of sticky situations. Sometimes the vehicle will not move in the direction that the fish wants because there's an obstacle. And the fish learned that it does that. They realize that if it doesn't move the way they want them to, then something is holding it back. So they correct themselves. Right now, it can't get directly to the pink target. So it's going to take a little reverse and come back from a different angle. Okay, and of course, it's going to get its reward. Okay, good. So now that the fish has done that, and we saw that the fish really learned how to operate the vehicle and it reaches the pink target, we really wanted to see if we can play with it a little, if we can try and confuse it, try to challenge it a little bit more. And one of the things that we did was just like you saw, have it start in different locations in the room to see if it still reaches it, and it passed. This test, it passed really well. Another one is that we try to put decoy targets, right? Like maybe other boards in other places in the room, different colors, to see if it's going to confuse the fish. It did not. It's very, the fish is very target oriented. But lastly, we did something that we found really interesting because we didn't know if the fish realizes that the reward it is getting is because it's coming close to the pink target, or maybe it just realizes that it needs to be the farthest away from the window that was in the corner of the room. Maybe, you know, it went to the area where it saw people moving around behind the makeshift wall. We didn't know. The fish can't actually tell us why it went into that certain location and not another. We want it to be the pink target, but maybe it does it, maybe the fish thinks differently. So we decided to move the pink target and we put it to the other side of the room. And that's when we saw something very interesting. We had the fish go directly to the original location. Of course, they didn't get any food. And then they tried again. They took a little bit reverse, just like you saw the fish doing to correct its location. They took a reverse and tried to come out from a slightly different angle, and maybe slightly to the right, slightly to the left, kept trying again and again and again, like several times. And then at some point, the fish took a direct route to the pink target at the other end of the room, which for me really tells me a lot. It tells me that out of all the cues in the room that can give a hint as to where the reward is given, the pink target was not the main one for the fish. It was not a first priority cue, but it was somewhere along the list of cues. So when it finally maybe realized that everything that I've been working at so far didn't work, maybe I'll give that one last thing a chance. And then it realizes that it's true. And when I say it realized it's true, because the next time with that same fish that once again, I put it in the middle and I had a target at the other side of the room, I let it go, the fish took the vehicle directly to the target at the other end of the room. So it certainly readjusted what it learned so far and I guess realized that the pink target is a very significant cue in order to get a reward. It does tell us a lot about the fish navigation, not only about it being able to drive the vehicle, right? We know that the fish can accommodate environmental changes. It can accommodate the terrestrial environment, even though it's kind of difficult. I don't know if any of you ever had ever dived or had to be in a place where light is distorted until it reaches you, but for the fish, the light was very distorted. We also said that the fish can accommodate many cues. It sees its environment as a complex something, right? It realized there's more than one thing in the environment. There's many, it knows them, and it thinks about them. So those things were really, really interesting for us to see. Now, of course, this is not the end for our driving fish. We do have more challenges for them. As you said, the room was a little bit small. And like Ronen mentioned before, animals don't navigate in a 1.5 meter by 1.5 meter. And also they don't navigate in a 5 by 5 meter rooms. So we do want to take it the next level. We want to make it bigger. We want to make the environment more complex. Maybe have the target not be seen straight away when the fish starts. Maybe not have a visible target at all. Maybe, right? So the sky's the limit on the ways we can challenge the fish. And we're very excited to start on those challenges really soon. And yeah, I think, I'm done. Yeah, I said. Excellent.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I'm trying to get right back on camera. Zach, if you can just release my camera. I will get back on screen. Here we go. Okay. Fascinating, really, very fascinating. And obviously this is a fish or several fish that have captured the imagination of audiences around the world, as we've seen with some of the media coverage and attention that it received even from entertainment shows like the Colbert Report. We'll talk about that in just a moment, because obviously this experiment is not necessarily about becoming an influencer fish or gaining notoriety for being this fish that drives. There's more to this, to the fish, and we've learned about it right now through your two presentations. I'd like to begin with a question actually that Mark has posed. We have a WhatsApp group, and he was like, oh, I wonder about this. So Mark Mendelson, our CEO, I'll start with that question. And he asks, what is the significance of this research to human life? I think that's a question on all of our minds.
So I think that, well, for human life, I don't know.
Except Ronen, if I can somehow teach salmon to come to my fishing line, then it has significant value.
Yeah, it has actually, it's a non-benefit things for the salmon, because the salmon would like actually to breed and multiply. Okay, so I think the importance here is the fact that we understand now better the cognitive capacity of fishes. They are not limited the way that people think. When I give a talk about our studies, many people approach me from time to time and say, oh, we thought that the goldfish has 3-second memory span. Well, the fish that Shahar trained, I think they sit here in the lab waiting for the next project for several months. And as soon as she takes them out and let them drive the vehicle, they know how to drive the vehicle. Okay, so this definitely gives us the capability to appreciate the cognitive capacity of fish in general. I think this is the important thing. Fish are important animals, and the more we understand about the biology of fish, then we will better manage the aquatic environments, which are important on the environmental level. So I think these are the things that you can actually take from this study, beside the basic understanding of the biology of fish. Okay, so one of the things that I came across is people starting to think, to ask me whether we are going to see cars that are driven by fish anytime soon. Well, this is not an applicative study. We care about the understanding the biology of fish. That's the important thing. Okay.
Very good. I just want to remind our audience, if you do have questions, please be sure to enter them into the Q&A box that's at the bottom of the screen, not the chat box, but the Q&A box. And Shahar, I'll pose the next question to you. You trained these fish. Tell us about the process. How many fish were really involved? Because it's not actually just one goldfish, from what I understand. How many days it takes to, on average, train a fish and so on?
All right. So in this study, we had 6 fish that completed the driver education course. And for each fish, if one training session takes half an hour, the fish had between 10 and 15 such sessions every other day. So it's not that long of a process to teach them. You found that reinforcement learning is a very good method to teach things quickly. So yeah, it was not that long. And yeah, 6 fish, as I said, finished the whole process.
And in terms of the reward, because obviously they were rewarded and they were rewarded with food, I'm assuming. What kind of food were they fed?
So it's their normal food that they like to eat. Of course, we didn't just get the fish the day we started the study. They've been with us for a while, right, waiting for their opportunity to shine. And they get used to a certain kind of food. And then it's that same food that we give them during the study because we know they like it, we know they eat it, so we use it.
Okay, wonderful. So we are getting some questions that are coming in. We'll start sifting through these questions. A question from Naomi Obam in Toronto. She asks, what range of colors do fish or goldfish see? Do they respond better to specific colors? And I'll leave that open to both of you. Maybe we'll start with Ronen.
This is interesting because so goldfish actually see 4 colors, unlike us that we see only 3. They have additional photoreceptor in the ultraviolet, which is a color that we don't see. Actually, our eye is not transparent to this type of light. So in this sense, in the sense of color vision, their vision is more sophisticated than our vision. They do attract to certain colors. They really hate black, that's for sure. And we have this hypothesis that the reason they don't like black is the fact that when the fish is swimming next to the surface, there are birds that are trying actually to fish them. And a bird that is coming from above actually makes a shadow. So from the point of view of the fish, big black shadow is something that tries to eat me, and I better go away. So definitely we see that they have preferences. They have actually certain colors that they really dislike and really avoid. So, and I think this is really interesting from looking at the behavior.
Okay, very interesting. Shahar, let me ask you this then. Is there a significance to the pink, and is that something they're attracted to?
So I get this question from time to time, and I always feel that it's a very disappointing answer because people would like to know that pink is their favorite color. But it was actually a very practical reason. We wanted a board and we wanted something big, a certain size, and that's what we had on hand at the laboratory. So that's what we used.
Okay, let's talk for a moment. We won't take too much time on this, but what was your reaction when you started seeing all of the headlines that this fish was making, that your experiment was making? Again, the Colbert Report. You know, here in Canada, you were featured on CTV and several other publications, the Globe and Mail, which is a big national paper. So you really, you really cracked through the media quite well. What was your reaction?
It definitely went to my head a little bit. Yeah, it was very exciting. I think I didn't believe it was going to happen. I know I was actually asking Ronen, like the day he put it on Twitter, it's like, why put it on Twitter? Like, what's the benefits of doing that? And then a day later, I can't open my Facebook without getting a message in my messages on Facebook, right, from people seeing the Twitter and wanting to interview us, write an article. And suddenly people find me on LinkedIn and everything. So it was really, it was wow, so much attention. And everything is very exciting, right? Like suddenly I find myself talking on a French morning TV. And when I say talking, it's I'm taking a lot of liberties, right? I was dubbed, but it was exciting. And then, you know, stuff like Colbert and Saturday Night Lives also come up. And then it's like a really big compliment.
Right.
Because if they laugh at you, it's like you're laughing with us, and it's amazing.
Right.
And it was great. And I think that most of all, having people like I didn't go around tell people, it's like, hey, look, people are looking at our stuff, but I had like friends sending me suddenly a photo of an article. It's like, hey, Shachar, we just read about you in that and that. And so it was very exciting, a lot going on. And it's when it comes down, then it's suddenly like, okay, heart rate can come down now. Let's get back to work.
Back to normal. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's almost like, you know, those 15 minutes of fame that people talk about, right?
Yes.
The excitement around it. Ronen, what was your reaction?
Well, actually, I was amazed. So I had, so I think it was Monday. I placed the video in Twitter, and then I went into a meeting, and there was nobody looked at it. And I said, okay, this is expected. And the next hour, there was something like 250 people saw it. And then I said, oh, that's good. That's cool. I think it took something like a few hours, and then it went to the thousands. And then this was actually quite shocking. So the media attention was nice, but stressful. Something like after 10 days, I said, yeah, I'm ready actually to get my old lives back.
10 days.
Yeah.
Wow.
So after 10 days, I said, okay, that's enough attention. We are ready to go back to normal. So it took something like I think it took something like 3 weeks.
For it to settle down. Yeah.
I think it settled down, and now it's going back, and I'm fine with getting my old life back.
Okay. A question for Shachar, and this is an anonymous attendee, asks, what is the craziest request you have had from the public since this experiment went viral?
Oof. Craziest request. So I don't think all the really crazy requests came through me. I got like requests for, you know, comments and interviews and such. But I think if I can answer it in the name of Matan, our chief engineer here, he had people asking him to build them vehicles as well, right? We'll pay you, build us as well. So I guess that's the craziest I've heard of.
Okay. And another question here, what is the lifespan of a goldfish? I know there were 6 you mentioned that were part of this particular experiment, but what's the lifespan?
So I think it's few years. They can get to definitely to few years. I don't remember the exact number. So goldfish are interesting because they grow throughout life. And the rate of growth, it depends on how much food they get, which is kind of intuitive, but they also grow according to the size of the water tank that you place them in. So a small fish bowl, they keep small, large water tank, they grow larger. So they grow until they almost stop growing and then they die. So there is some intricate connection between growth and lifespan. I don't remember the exact number, but they definitely get to several years.
One of our audience members here asks, her name is Betsy Pomerantz. She asks, did the fish learn to not steer into the curb? And Ronen, maybe you can answer that one.
Yeah, I think that
Responded, yes, yeah, just for the rest of our audience.
Yeah, so the computer is endowed with LIDAR. A LIDAR is kind of a laser LIDAR that tells the computer the distance to object in the environment. So the computer prevents from the vehicle bumping into things. Okay, so as soon as we have something like 10 centimeters away from the wall, then the computer will stop, and then the vehicle doesn't crash into the wall. And then the fish need to steer away from the wall by making the right maneuver in order to avoid obstacles.
We spoke very briefly, I think, you mentioned in one of the presentations, I think maybe it was Shacha who mentioned it, that in terms of next steps, and so on. What are the next steps? Are you looking at potentially using other mammals for the purpose of the experiment, or will you be sticking to goldfish? What's next?
So I think that the next step is actually to go ahead with initial motivation and trying to train the fish to navigate large and complex environment. I think this is definitely, it fascinates me, because then it makes the whole experiment much more natural. So this is something that really fascinates me. There is we have, the crazy ideas that are floating here. If we take a fish and let it drive on land, we should take a rat, let it drive a submarine. One of the things that I really learned over the years as a scientist is there is a very tight connection between my capability to do science and the complexity of running the lab. And I learned a rule that I keep ever since, is that never keep more than 3 different animal types in the lab. So
Okay.
right now we have 3 all fish.
And what are the 3 that you have right now?
We have archerfish, we have goldfish, and we have rabbitfish.
Oh, okay. They're all in the fish family, but
They're all fish family, which makes actually things easier.
Right, got it. We have a very interesting question here from Israel Warshevsky. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. He says, hi, what might happen if you put 2 goldfish in the same tank? Have you tried that, and what could happen?
Oh, cool idea. That's cool, to see whether they can learn how to cooperate. This is a good idea. Shaha, you heard?
Okay, writing it down.
So you have it, it hasn't been tried yet, but obviously as you're continuing your experiment. So thank you, Israel, for that idea. Our researchers are listening. Fran Rose, or Ross, pardon me, asks, we've heard that dolphins are used by navies for some purposes in warlike situations. Are there any linkage or possibilities which may flow from the experiments that you have done?
So I'm not sure that I followed the question. So
I'll repeat it, okay? So Fran asks, we've heard that dolphins are used by navies for some purposes in warlike situations. I'm not sure if you're familiar with these uses. And he asks, are there any linkages or possibilities which may flow from the experiments that you've done?
Well, actually, this is very, very interesting, because when the study went out, and because of the noise, somebody approached me. He said that he's one of the referees of our study, And he directed me to a very interesting old experimentation during the, I think it was the Second World War, where it was an attempt, or maybe in the 50s, I don't remember, where there was an attempt to use pigeons to actually drive missiles towards the target. So they trying to teach train pigeons to control kind of an aircraft, and the pigeons were supposed to actually to use their visual system in order to run the thing. This was actually very interesting. So I'm a basic scientist, and I do things to find things that are interesting, and that's what I this is my motivation. There might be some applications in this direction. That's true. I haven't thought about it myself.
Okay. Shahar, you had mentioned too that you put the fish in various scenarios where you put obstacles in the way, or you move the target to the other side of the room. What does this ultimately say to us about the intelligence of goldfish?
Well, I think for once, it says that they are not as simple as we like to think them. They're complex animals just like us. You know, they just had a different upbringing, right? If we had to thrive on land with certain challenges, they had another set of challenges in the water, and they thrived over there. So we do learn that they do have intelligence. And I think, and Ronen mentioned it a little bit before, that we had fish that they had the driving course a year or so ago. And even now, if I put them inside the vehicle, they know how to drive it, and they'll try and reach for the pink target straight away. So they do have a long-term memory, which is something that a lot of people don't believe about goldfish.
Yeah.
So they do
Sounds
have that.
Like what they say about humans and riding a bike, you never forget about it, right? So
Yeah,
there's a similarity there. This is really a fascinating talk. Thank you so much. I think we're probably out of time because Mark is back on screen, and I'll turn it over to Mark.
I have a question.
right. Thank you.
Shahar,
Yeah.
you as a simulator instructor, tell us the truth. Which is harder to teach, an air cadet to fly a simulator, or a goldfish to drive a boat?
So I think the dropout ratio from flight course in the Army is a lot higher than the one for our fish driving course. But I will say this for Air Force pilots. After every flight, before and after, there's always a sit-down where you talk about what we plan to do. And after that, what we did, how we did it, what can be improved, and they take it to heart, which is hard to do with the fish. So credit is where credit is due.
What you could do with the fish is fry it and then have a little mangal, have a barbecue. Anyway, guys, it was fascinating, really. I have to say. And now we have to, when our kids, or my kids are too old, but when our grandchildren or grandchildren's grandchildren, when they ask for goldfish, we really have to start buying them. Guys, it was fascinating. Thank you so much for giving us our time, and for everyone.
Thank you for having us.
Our listening audience, remember, March 9th, it is International Women's Day on March 8th, but we are acknowledging it on March 9th with a webinar, and stay tuned for our announcements of our upcoming events in Montreal, Winnipeg, Vancouver, and then Toronto. Rav Todot, thank you so much, Ronen and Shahar and Galit, and everyone who you can't see, Shimi and Zach behind the scenes, and our other members of our team. Keep well, stay COVID safe, and keep up with the goldfish. We want to see you more on Stephen Colbert and Jimmy Kimmel Live.
Thank you.
רב תודות. תודה
Great.
רבה.
Thank you.
Bye bye.